I've always had this idea that I would want to get on social media platforms. I just didn't know how to. When COVID happened, all of our IVF centers were on a mandatory leave. So then that was the time I was like, okay, now I can do something. Now I have some time on my hands. And I see a lot of people unaware of the most basic things. So then maybe this is what I need to do.
Hardly 10 or 12 posts and you started talking about the need of sex education in India.
Yeah. To be honest, when I first started, it was purely infertility.
Yeah.
But then you realize that infertility also arises from the lack of sex education. And then the kind of questions I started getting in my DMs, I was like, okay, this is like people don't know the most basic things.
Were you called out by your peers or your seniors about some content?
So one thing that I've always done is that every time you go on social media and you say something, you make sure there's evidence to back it up. So I never had the misfortune of someone, calling me out.
Can somebody tomorrow legally put a finger on you that you are doing a social media branding which is not allowed in the country?
When it comes to the rules, right, there's an NMC draft.
Yeah.
It's still not passed yet. But considering that NMC is still, the bill is still a draft. It's still applicable because that's the only draft that we have.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants to make a scene, they can.
Welcome back to yet another interesting episode of the ISAR podcast, where we just don't celebrate medicine, but we question it as well. And today we are going to talk about one very burning topic which every young doctor today wishes to do, and a lot of us are already doing it, but very few are vocal about it, and that's content creation. Well, let's be honest. Social media has made us doctors educators, influencers, and also some people as marketers. But the question is, where do we draw the lines? When does this content serve the patient and when does it start serving the egos? And to answer all this and to have a bold conversation today, we have Dr. Prateek Makwana, who's the head embryologist at Vasundhara Hospital and Vasundhara IVF Limited at Jodhpur, a very known name in the country as one of the leading embryologists, a 2-time TEDx speaker, and somebody whom I know so close, and somebody who doesn't hesitate to share his knowledge, his views, opinions on the social media platform. Today, he's not only going to talk about the opportunities, but he's also going to give us insights about the uncomfortable truths behind being a doctor in the digital age. Welcome, Prateek.
Thank you.
And it's such a privilege, and I'm looking forward to those real bold conversations today.
Thank
but
you.
the
Thank
honest
you for having
ones.
me. Yeah, let's try.
Yeah, so let's get straight into it.
Perfect.
The year 2020, COVID pandemic set in, and life changed for everyone.
Yeah.
For you, from somebody seeing the lens of a microscope in the fertility lab, entering into the digital lens of a social media, you started creating first the posts and then the reels, educating women about their health and the fertility journey.
Yeah.
How did this idea come up? What were your real struggles in the COVID time? And what pushed you that, okay, let's try this?
So, to be honest, I think I've always had this idea that I would want to get on social media platforms, even since college days. Because at that time, YouTube was just picking up. Back in 2010, 2011, it was just picking up. So I always wanted to get into it. I just didn't know how to. When COVID happened, all of our IVF centers were on a mandatory leave. We had nothing to do. And the hospital had completely shifted to a COVID center because then we were managing the COVID patients. So then that was the time I was like, okay, now I can do something. Now I have some time on my hands. And I see a lot of people unaware of the most basic things, which for us, it's pretty common, right?
Yeah.
Because we see it in our day-to-day life. With them, it's completely alien. So like maybe this is what I need to do. And I'll start. I've also seen doctors of different fields completely unaware about infertility and how it works or what happens, right? So like I'll just address the most basic things about infertility and then we'll take it from over there.
So this brings me to something else that I was just going through your page, and I think hardly 10 or 12 posts and you started talking about the need of sex education in India.
Yeah.
And thanks to your valuable content that we have been able to spread the sex education in India in a very appropriate manner.
Yeah.
But it was a bold decision at that point of time. I know you knew that it will come up with accolades, it will be appreciated, it will be useful, but it will also come with backlash and
Oh, yeah.
may be misused. So, could you talk about some of those initial posts which received criticism and which, on the other hand, received appreciation? And how did both these experiences help you leverage? Today,
Yeah.
you talk, even your TED talk was about this need of sex education in the schools and colleges.
Yeah.
And how did you leverage that platform?
So to be honest, when I first started, it was purely infertility.
Yeah.
But then you realize that infertility also arises from the lack of sex education. When we talk about people, even in general, if we talk about sex education, they will just think, okay, it's just about sex.
Yeah.
That's just a small part of the whole syllabus that we should have, right? And even a lot of cases with erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, even people suffering at a very young age, they have problems with the erection due to body image issues, anything, right? Performance pressures, you can name it, so many things. So that was my initial idea, that okay, first I'll talk about infertility. Then I was like, okay, maybe I need to go a step down and see where it all starts.
Yeah.
And then the kind of questions I started getting in my DMs, I was like, okay, this is people don't know the most basic things, so we should try and address that. But sort of helped me also go back and learn a few things that I also probably missed. So it was kind of a very enriching experience for me as well. But then, yeah, I think sex education picked up, and then I sort of tied it into infertility. So the core is still fertility,
Yeah.
but approaching it before you have to visit a fertility doctor. So more about preventive care than the treatment.
Okay. So, in one of our conversations, you did mention you were initially a shy person at camera, and then suddenly
Yeah.
talking about, going bold and talking about all these topics on the social media platform. How did you evolve that confidence? Because a lot of young doctors, they face the same when it comes to talking to the patient in the clinic versus talking to the public on the social media platform.
I think I was sort of forced into it, peer pressure. I was just doing posts, and then my friends were like, no, I think you should do reels. I was like, okay. And then I tried it with them. And after that, they were like, okay, now you stop doing posts. Now you just make videos. No matter how bad they come out to be, just upload them.
Yeah.
Forget it, right? Don't try and be really good at it. Just do it. And I was like, okay, fine. Let's just do it. Because at that point, there was also nobody to compare it with, right?
Yeah.
They were doctors. They were doctors doing amazing work on social media, but not in infertility. So then I was like, okay, I'll try it. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, we'll go back to posts. Somehow it worked out, and yeah, it just turned out to be really good. Of course, there was a lot of negativity, but that's okay.
Yeah. So these doctor friends also, some of the big influencers today, just to name some, Dr. Cutrus, Utopedia, Manan, and then the girl next door, and many more in the list. What I have loved about you guys is that you all came together. I think it was also about educating people about the COVID and the COVID vaccines.
Yeah.
And you also guys maintained the individuality that the territories are not breached, but the larger goal is, suffice, that is the people, education doesn't get compromised. So if you could talk about the strategies that you all followed together in your initial years, because now, if we start looking at, I want to become a digital creator, this person wants to become a digital creator, the purpose is diluted. If we come together as a community, what you all have been doing it and carrying it forward, it makes a broader sense.
I think there are a lot of people who watch content, so there will always be enough space. So I don't think there's any point to have a competition with your fellow doctor or creator. And as doctors, there's one thing that we have always sort of missed out on, which, to be honest, I also realized much later, is that we are not very collaborative with each other, even in our professional field, right?
Exactly.
We're always competing with each other.
Yeah.
And that's okay, that happens, it's just how it is. But on social media, at least, everybody will have their own space, no matter, even if you do the same content as someone else. If my video doesn't reach to, say, a person over here, it reaches someone over there, and your video reaches, it doesn't matter how many followers anyone has, to be honest.
Yeah.
Even if it reaches to that one person who I couldn't reach, it's helping someone, right? That should be the goal.
I think that's a very, very practical take-home message. But yeah. Okay, now this also reminds me, can you talk about some of your initial posts that went, or your reels that went viral? And how did it help you change your future strategies? Were they criticized? Were they applauded upon? There was a mix of reaction. And it's very difficult to also take the criticism on the social media platform.
Yeah.
So how have you navigated through those situations?
Being absolutely honest, I don't have a strategy. I've never had one.
It's just random topics. I've seen a lot of times you put it, what do you want me to talk about next?
And then they say something, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'll just talk about this, right? And a lot of the topics come from the interactions I have in the OPD or what I see in my DMs. And when you talk to them, you're like, okay, this is some of these queries that they have, they don't even have to come to the hospital for that. If they just knew, they wouldn't have to make a trip to the hospital, right? Those are the most interesting topics because they cater to the masses. They are the most generalized topics. Rather than going, you can go in very niche subjects, which is okay. I do it every now and then, but they will only focus on a certain sect of people. They won't address everyone else because not everyone is trying for IVF.
Yeah.
Not everyone is struggling with parenthood. Not everyone is going to have a baby in the next 2 years or 1 year, right? So for them, that topic might not be as interesting as a very generalized topic. So I just look at that, the most basic questions and answer them. And then sometimes I do very niche topics. But when it comes to the hate or the trolling or the positivity, I think it's a bit of both. One of the first videos that received a lot of hate was when I talked about how hymen and the social construct around virginity. And then, of course, there were paragraphs of men, mostly men, just like coming up with such creative ways to abuse someone that I was like, I was looking at some, I was really impressed with some. That this is very creative, new things that even I was learning. But then the good thing was there were people defending me in the comments, so I didn't have to do anything. And that, I think, is sort of the positivity that matters. I have always had a thick skin, so it didn't really bother me. Social media, anything, they can just come and anonymously type anything. It does affect a lot of people. Initially for me, it was like, okay, fine, let it be. But then when it happened on the videos about masturbation, because there's a theory around how masturbation is bad, right?
Right.
So I went against that. I went against the construct the society has, and a few other things, especially about how it's the egg who chooses the sperm, and so all those things. So people, of course, they are very vocal on the comments, but then there were others who defended me. So I was cool. Engagement बढ़ रहा था. So end of the day.
Yeah, but I think having a thick skin is something very important when you come on a public forum. If you are really very clear about educating people, then you have to understand that both the truths and the ugly truths will come in forward.
Yeah.
So this is about the people talking about it. But were you called out by your peers or your seniors about some content? And again, did you learn from it? Or did you use it to your leverage? Or you were even more encouraged that, okay, I need to talk about it?
So one thing that I've always done, which I do see even now is become a bit of an issue for others who don't follow it, is that every time you go on social media and you say something, you make sure there's evidence to back it up. So that you have a leg to stand on if somebody comes behind you, right? And I do see a lot of medical creators who sort of go a little outside the science and lean into the emotional side of it, which is wrong because then you'll give the wrong information.
Right.
If you're going against the science then, right? So that I always had. So I never had the misfortune of someone, calling me out. There were, of course, people who were calling me out, but those were like creators. Those were not, they for them, science didn't matter. For them, it was, what No Nut November says or yes. So I was not really bothered by that. I was like, you do what you want to do. I still have my science too, and if anytime it comes to that, I will make videos and like cite proper researches instead of articles in Cosmopolitan. So that has happened. A lot of them brands have also come after me because
Yeah.
they had these sperm friendly lubes, and there's no such thing as that. So unless it's not a spermicidal, it's a sperm friendly
Friendly
lube.
lube.
Like you can just market it right like that. So I did call out a lot of brands on that, and they also came after me, but they didn't have anything to, nothing to substantiate their claims on. So then they also backed off.
So another
Seniors never did, which is
right.
great.
So thick skin, a good medical evidence. I think that's what we
Yeah,
need.
yeah.
So coming on to some other content creators from our fraternity, have you noticed any posts which will be like, I will never do that? Okay.
Yeah.
And since you are an influencer, have you voiced out about those posts and those reels for the benefit of the larger population?
See, there are a lot of ways to present content, right?
Yeah.
Anybody can do whatever they want on their page. I do not have a problem with that, and nobody should, because it's their page. On my
Yeah.
page, I'm doing what I want, so anybody can else, can do how they choose to present their content. Okay, fine, do it, as long as you're not giving out the wrong information. If that is a barrier that you're crossing, so, and this has happened quite a lot of times, it still happens, and the first thing that we do is we reach out to them privately, and sometimes we have to call them out, because I think when they have been doing it consistently and it's affecting people, then we sort of do make a video not targeting them, but just talking about in general what the right thing is,
Right.
and not naming them or anything. We'll still talk about the right thing. Okay, like this is the science, and you might have heard this on social media, but this is the actual truth. That's how we'll go about it.
Okay. And now that everybody claims that my content is for education, but let's be honest,
Yeah.
content also brings in patience, right? So apart from the content creation serving as an education tool, should we shy away from saying that it is one of the marketing strategies? Are there any authoritative rules and regulations by the government of India which bars you from a digital marketing? There are do's and don'ts of you marketing and advertising as your doctor versus the medical content.
Yeah. So, see, for somebody who's marketing it and somebody who's doing it for awareness education, you will be able to see the difference. It will be there in their posts.
Yeah.
There will be people who will be very focused on marketing. Great. There will be people who will combine both of them. Great. There are people like, no matter what you do, it's good only. When it comes to the rules, right? There's an NMC draft.
Yeah.
It's still not passed yet. And we actually had this conversation when the first draft had come out, and they had a whole social media section. So we sort of formed, like, a few of us came together, we formed, and we reached out to various IMA bodies across the states, and we discussed it. And then the whole idea was that we will get the section removed from NMC draft, the first draft that had come
Yeah.
out. But then we sort of didn't go about it because at that time there was no chatter around it. We just sent a letter, and I don't know if they paid attention to it or not, but in the next draft it was removed because maybe they overlooked it, because there was not enough uproar against it. So it sort of helped us to not create an uproar. But what happens is, especially in these situations, there's a way to market, right? I personally, because I wanted to build a separate brand, right, growing in the field, I never actually marketed my hospital. And I can count on my fingers the times I have linked my hospital care. Okay, if you want to reach me, this is where I am, and you can come. That's about the marketing that I've done on my page. But they will find you. Like, they will sort of look in your bio, they will see the links, they will go to the hospital's website, they will do it themselves.
So again, this brings me to IVF. Now, this is a branch which is extremely an emotional journey for that couple, and they would want to maintain their confidentiality and privacy at any given cost amongst any treatments which exist, right?
True.
So where do we draw the lines in celebrating the success stories of our patients online versus exploiting their emotions and privacy?
So, no, according to the draft, again, I'll go back to the draft. No matter if you have the consent, doesn't matter.
What kind of a consent?
Written, video, doesn't matter. You cannot post a testimonial, a video testimonial of the patients. Applies to dermats, they cannot post before and afters.
Okay.
Applies to orthopedics, you cannot post x-rays of before and after.
Okay.
Even if you blur the patient's name, you cannot just do it. That's the draft. The draft is a little archaic in its ways.
Yeah.
Needs a lot of implementation before it actually, it's there for us to follow. But you just cannot post testimonials. That's the thing. But everybody does it. My hospital page will do it. Everybody's hospital page will do it. Because right now, that's the only way to do it, right?
Yeah.
And as long as you have the consent, that at least some way in a legal loophole, you're still saved because the patient has agreed to it. The cases have happened where a patient got, I think, a breast augmentation done, and the doctor had the consent, a plastic surgeon, and then they posted about it. The post got viral.
Okay.
Now the patient is like, okay, now I don't want it because it's viral now.
Viral.
I was never expecting this. Even though the identification marks in the face, everything is blurred out. But the patient says, now you take it off. The doctor is like, I have the consent. So these things can happen. But either way, ideally, just if you go strictly by the draft, you cannot do it.
Okay.
But we all do it. So it's okay.
Yeah. Perfect. So there's a concept called trending now on the Instagram.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to this society, do they still vision us that we need to impart the medical education in a very dignified manner? Or is it okay for the doctors also to follow the trending now videos as a platform to educate people?
They can. I have never followed any trends.
I know they can,
Yeah.
but since you deal with a larger audience,
Yeah.
do you feel that this is like crossing the line? Should we maintain our dignity of the profile that we carry? Or it's okay, like somebody else is doing it, let me as well do it?
Yeah, I think, so there are two ways to look at it. The one that you said, that you have to maintain a certain sense of decorum and a professional, outlook, that is absolutely true. You should. Just speaking from I don't speak for anyone else, but speaking from my experience, I have rarely ever followed any trend, right? Do it. Because I think, in a manner of speaking, the other side of it is that patients see you in a very different light. Most of the times, it sort of acts as an icebreaker. Because when infertility for us specifically, just getting through the first few questions and getting them to actually talk about their whole journey is a little, it's a little tricky. This acts as an icebreaker because now they think कि हम जानते हैं doctor को, before they come into the chamber, they have formed a bond with you.
Yeah.
That, I think, sort of comes if you also act a little human on the page. And it's okay to do it. We're all humans. Doctors, we're second. First, we're humans. So we can dance, we can make trendy content, as long as we're doing it, the information is correct.
But then how is it for our some of our medical professionals, our seniors who are not so active on these platforms? And what if today the patient, they start believing more on the, as per their terminology, is not my terminology, the Instagram doctors versus their real-time gynecologist? So is it going to impact, or has it already started impacting our profession?
It has to start impacting our profession, to be honest. And a lot of these times, it's very difficult to differentiate. See, even though seniors doctors are now, everybody's on Instagram now.
Yeah.
Like, first they were like, okay, no, we should not do this now. Now they're like, oh, this is great, right? We also want to jump in on it. Because now they've seen the highs of other people. So now they want to get in on it, which is okay. Good for everyone, right? But we still don't know how to tell people to separate a good doctor on Instagram and just a doctor on Instagram. That is something that will always be a conundrum, because people will always, there's no way to break it down. They might go to the person who's more famous on Instagram first and then realize, okay, maybe I should have gone to the other doctor who's with more experience. So that will happen. And hopefully, just with more people coming on Instagram, we can actually have a lot of options for people to actually go and visit, or just check their reviews, or at least they'll be aware that there are more people, right? Even with the seniors, a lot of the younger generation won't be aware of the seniors.
Yes.
So for them to now actually see them also on social media, I think it's a great change.
But then social media has also taken our fraternity also with a lot of craze into it. Do you find
Yeah.
some doctors who are more concerned about their videos going viral than actually their clinical outcomes in their labs? So
I
have we crossed that line?
I have seen people like that. I won't lie, but I think it sort of comes from, because see, once they sort of see what other people, the opportunities, the avenues, the doors that have opened for other people, and then they think, okay, it could be jealousy, it could be insecurity, it could be anything. But then they're like, okay, no, we also want to get in on that.
Yeah.
And then their page becomes about that. Their page is to attract a certain sort of accolade, For them, now it's not about awareness. Marketing, chalo, hoti rahegi. That's the team that's doing it.
Self
For them, it's about,
gratification.
yeah, they have to validate themselves because
Yeah.
they are in a competition with the other person is not even aware of it. So that happens, and that unfortunately happens in our field as well, quite a lot. But I mean, it's okay. The public will always separate the two. They will always see, okay, fine. They can see through it. They're not that stupid, right? For a few, maybe like a few months, they might be blindsided, but then they will be like, okay, हमको पता है क्या हो रहा है.
So now tomorrow, if a young doctor comes and asks you, Dr. Prateek, can I start making reels? Your answer would be yes, no, only if, maybe if. What
Yeah.
would be your advice to that fellow?
My answer would, I think I would answer with a question that what do you want to do first? Because if you want to go into content creation, great, do it. If you want to become a doctor, you first need to focus on the skills that you will actually be using to help the patients. Then you can think about social media. You can start them side by side, but focus more on the skills. The social media can take a backseat for now. There will always be time for social media, but once you've sort of crossed a line,
Yeah.
then going back, learning skills, and then you're not so perceptive also when you just come out of your PG or MBBS. By that time, that's the great time to focus on actually learning what you have to do in the field rather than making videos.
Very nice message. I think, yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
see it from that angle. But so when you post something, is there any rule that you always follow so that you ensure that you are not crossing that line?
For me, it's always not too many rules. I think I take it very lightly. And for me, it's always been,
But you'll be
I sh-
particular that probably your
yeah,
evidence, it has to be evidence
yeah,
backed.
it always has to be evidence based, even so that if somebody reaches out to me, because people do reach out to me, okay, this doctor said this doctor said this, you are saying this, is there a basis for it? So then I send them specific parts of specific papers and I link the papers. If you want to go and read it, you can, but for people to critique a paper, it's not, I mean, doctors can't critique papers, right?
Yeah.
So I send them specific parts of the paper along with the whole paper, that okay, now you read this and this is the argument somebody has made. And it's a lot of work sometimes I don't just reply to those DMs. But when I see a genuine doubt, I do take the time to sort of go ahead and reach out to them.
Right.
Yeah, just focus on as long as the information is right, and the information can change with time.
Yeah.
So then you just go back and say that, okay, maybe I made a video and now this has improved in the science. This has now changed. You should always own up to it, because otherwise somebody else will call you out.
So a lot of times, people have this view: the more the number of the followers, again, the social media language, the more the conversion rate of the
Yeah.
patients.
Yeah.
Have you also experienced that in your real time?
It certainly helps, right? Even if I don't market the hospital, they will go to my bio, they will see the hospital linked, and if they can get an online consultation or reach out to me physically, they will. Sometimes patients go to the other locations of my centers and they're like, आप यहाँ नहीं हो क्या sir? मैं कहा, नहीं, मैं सिर्फ जोधपुर में हूँ. But that happens, and we actually get a lot of patients from Instagram, and that's really nice, because when they come, their whole idea is that, okay, we have watched this video of yours, and then we realized that we should get this test done, and then we saw this and we thought we'll come to you. So it sort of help them in a manner. And some people just come to like talk,
Yeah.
like, oh, we saw you and we know that you practice here, so we have just come to meet you. That also happens.
Wow.
So it's not always conversions,
But I'm glad
it
that
does.
you see these kind of patients, that
Yeah, that
talks
also
volume
happens.
about the content that you are delivering.
Because see, even if you talk to them, if you give them like 10 minutes of your time,
Yeah.
they will go and tell about it to someone. And the word of mouth is the best publicity, even in the world of social media. Right?
Perfect.
So that really helps. And yeah, I mean, I think there are people who completely focus on the journeys of the patients and the parenthood. They certainly get a lot more patience, because for them, the patient is seeing the whole experience that they are going through, or they will be going through when they visit their center. So
Yeah.
that also happens. That there, the conversion rate would be higher.
Yeah. So we have talked a lot about the content creation for the young incoming doctors, but somebody who's a well-established doctor,
Yep.
who's spent decades in the clinical practice and now today wants to enter this social media, do you think there would be certain challenges, considering that a younger person may be more social media friendly, knowing about the AI tools, more gadget friendly person,
Yep.
more vocal on the social media? So, what are the tips and tricks for somebody who spent 3 decades in the clinic, who now wants to come and explore this arena?
So I'll tell you something really interesting. Okay, the younger generation, they can shoot up really quickly because
Yeah.
of how they will speak to the majority of people using the social media apps. They will be of similar age bracket, or a couple of years elder, or say like between 20 to 34, right? And
Right.
a 26-year-old making content would sort of appeal to both sides of the spectrum a little bit. But if a senior comes in, I have always maintained this, I've said it multiple times, that your work outside social media will help your social media. The real world sort of clout that you have, for the lack of a better word, will always be more important than the numbers you have on social media.
Yeah.
So the experience that you have, the patients that you have helped, they will definitely come and follow you on Instagram immediately. And if you have been in the practice for 30 years, you must have helped 25 to 30,000 patients easily.
Yeah.
So and when they see you, they will start recommending your page to their families. So, and that the audience base of those, say, 10K, 15K people that you'll have on social media will actually be people who will take action, who will come to, who will recommend people. So that will help you more than somebody having, say, 500K followers of an MBBS or a PG student, because the patients have nowhere to go to meet the person. So, and fine, they might have conversions on the type of products that they work with. That's okay. That's a whole different ball game. But the real world usage, and for people to actually come visit you, for the word of mouth, the sort of the pedestal they will put you on, will always be much higher for a person who has worked in the field and has experience.
Exactly. So experience never goes a
Yeah.
waste. I
Yeah.
mean, that's always your most valuable asset and will help you out in
Yeah.
any field that you
Yeah.
plunged or you entered into. So, my one last question to you is that now, for all our young listeners today who want to enter this digital world of content creation, what would be your genuine advice for them to create the content responsibly?
Wow, that's a very interesting question, because unfortunately, a lot of the MBBS creators that now, some of them are doing really great work. There
Yeah.
was a meeting, I think a couple of months back, which was just medical creators
Okay.
collective sort of. And we did see a lot of the younger ones, the
Yeah,
MBBS.
yeah, there was some
Yeah,
thing couple of months
yeah,
back.
yeah. So a lot of the MBBS creators were there. Some of them were doing great work with AI in medical field, and like exploring amazing avenues. Majority of them, the content was about, get ready with me for a day to the hospital and all that.
Yeah.
That I feel is a little. I mean, if you're making that content and if you have patients in the back in your video, that's a little distasteful, because the patient's identity is getting revealed. Even if they're in the ward, it doesn't really matter, right? We don't have HIPAA guidelines like the US does, but still we need to be a little careful. That I think needs to improve, and they can make that piece of content no problem at all. But they just need to be aware of the sort of the area and the situation, or the environment they are in, and just maintain some decorum over there. Otherwise, it's fine. I think they are also like giving a new side to people who want to come into MBBS or PG, and that none of us could ever do. Right? They talk about struggles, they talk about all these things, which is great because that gives people a real picture, not just "Kam doctor banenge wala." But yeah, I think for them to be a little more aware is what I would say.
And for handling the trolls and the critics,
Just
somebody
ignore.
who's too young.
Yeah, I mean, there will be times when it will take a toll on you, but I think over time they'll learn to just ignore it.
Yeah.
Because the kind of trolling that people can do with the time they have on their hands, oh, you cannot match it. So just ignore it or just block them. Like, no need to engage with them.
So thanks, Prateek, for such a bold and a candid conversation. And it was the need of the hour that we had to talk about this topic. I think it's important for everyone, and let's not categorize it into generations. And thank you for all our listeners as well. And stay tuned for another real-time conversation nowhere else but here on the ISAR podcast. Thank you. You have a family background of Bollywood. You never thought of getting somewhere a part of the Bollywood society as well.
I was offered a movie with, in those days, Rajesh Khanna. Wow. And I was like, I didn't even bother to talk to my sister about it or talk to my parents. It was like, I'm not interested, thank you. So that really didn't play in my head as one of the options.
Did you ever think or you felt that you had to work twice as hard just because you were a woman?
Yeah, I think in ISG there was a little bit. I mean, normally I've never experienced discrimination, and in fact, there's an international FIGO organization, and they did an interview with me, and they asked me, like, as a woman, were you discriminated? Yes, I said, India, though we are a developing nation, I think we are very progressive, very forward. We've had a woman prime minister much before anybody ever did.
We had the Zoom platform, but you gave an entire new platform to the youngsters to come up with the Youngistan conference.
I'm totally not a believer in the whole seniority debate. Yeah. That's completely wrong. And so even in ISAR, I actually started the ISAR Youth Council because it's it's so important to give them a platform.
When it comes to leadership, what do you think? Is it something that can be learned or it's innate?
So I feel I'm not very much of a born leader.